Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world, and welcome to today's LLM Insights. We're joined today by Osgoode Hall Law School, part of York University, and we're joined today by Claresta, who will be taking you through the next 30 minutes. But before I do hand you over, a reminder that today's session is live. If there are any questions, and today's date is the 25th of September, please ensure you put the date of your question on an email to webinars@postgradsolutions.com, and we will endeavour to get round to your answers as soon as possible. Now, if you are watching on Facebook today, please pop your questions in the Messenger facility where you can message us directly, or you can pop it on the post itself and we'll endeavour to get round to your questions. But for now, I'd like to hand you through to Claresta. Claresta's taking you through the next 20 to 30 minutes. I will be back for the Q&A. Please pop those all important questions in the chat or Q&A, and I'll come back to you later. Claresta, over to you.
All right, so hello everyone, welcome to the OPD presentation. OPD stands for Osgoode Professional Development. This presentation is for international students or law graduates who are interested in studying law in Canada. Today I'll be covering full-time programs that we offer at Osgoode Professional Development, a little bit of housekeeping. Garrett mentioned that there is a Q&A, and you can also send out your questions by email. I'll be going through my presentation first and taking up questions later on towards the end. The other thing I want to mention is that this session is not about accreditation. I'll just touch upon some accreditation. So accreditation, if you are looking to get licensed here in Canada, we do have an on-demand video on our website that talks about in-depth process for that licensing process. Mostly today, I'll be talking about the different program offerings that we offer for international students. So I want to start by talking about Canada and Toronto, where Osgoode Professional Development is located. We have 5 million international students coming to Canada to study each year. Consistently, we are ranking among the top 5 countries to live in. We are also one of the safest countries. Our cost of living is lower than many of other English-speaking countries. We have universal healthcare and also quality education. So specifically, if you are looking at legal education in Canada, you'll notice that there are very few law schools in Canada. There are only a total of 24. So no matter which institution you choose to study law, you're going to get a high quality education. So you may be considering studying in the US, Australia, or the UK. You'll see that during your research that Canada compares favorably in terms of tuition fees and options for working during and after you complete your graduate studies. A little bit about location for Osgoode Professional Development and Osgoode Hall Law School. We are located in Toronto, which is the capital of the province of Ontario. Toronto is one of the most diverse and multicultural cities in the world. We have over 250 ethnicities and 170 languages that are represented within the city. And roughly half of our population identifies as a visible minority. And as a city, we do take great pride in our multiculturalism. Wherever you're coming from, you'll be able to find your communities here in Toronto. So for Osgoode Hall Law School, a bit of introduction. We are established in 1889. We are one of Canada's oldest and most distinguished law schools. Our internationally renowned faculty is recognized for their excellence in teaching, as well as their influence in the legal and policy landscape in Canada and beyond. Our student community is intelligent, diverse, and creative. We have renowned alumni who have excelled worldwide in public agencies, private law firms, corporations, government, legal clinics, and universities as well. And at Osgoode Hall Law School, we have Research Stream LLM as well as Professional LLM. Today, I'll be focusing on programs offered at the Osgoode Professional Development, which is the arm's length department of Osgoode Hall Law School, including the Professional LLM. If you are looking for Research LLM, that is hosted by the Osgoode Hall Law School itself. I won't be touching too much into it, but if that is of your interest, we're more than happy to refer you to our colleagues. So for Osgoode Professional Development, this is, as I mentioned, the professional development arm of the Osgoode Hall Law School. We have two campuses, so that means you get the best of both worlds. We are located at the Business Center in downtown Toronto, and we also have our main campus at Keele, where Osgoode Hall Law School is located. Our goal is to promote lifelong legal learning, and we offer the broadest range of programs for internationally trained lawyers as well as law graduates. And who are OsgoodePD students? We offer the broadest range of programs for, as I mentioned, for internationally trained lawyers and law graduates. We have alumni from more than 49 countries. And another important feature of our program is that it's not just one professional LLM. We have more than 17 graduate specializations. Each has its own student body of international students, Canadians who have studied law in Canada or abroad, as well as senior non-legal professionals. Our programs are quite large, so you have the opportunity to meet and network with many different types of people. There are lots of different motivations on why students decided to study with us. Just to highlight a few of them is that they wanted to internationalize their education or getting credit in Canada, or also could be wanted to improve their language skills. We're going to talk about how our programs can fit with these different motivations. And when you choose Osgoode Professional Development, you'll be getting academic excellence, community, and support. I'll talk a little bit about each of them. In terms of academic excellence, we have more than 100 courses across the 17 specializations. Our curriculum bridges theory and practice, and that means providing students with strong theoretical background with immediate practical applications. And our faculty members are some of Canada's top legal practitioners and academics, and they are also internationally recognized as leaders in their particular field. In terms of community, at OsgoodePD, you'll have a sense of community. As Canada's largest and most diverse law school, we have the global reputation for attracting talented students. Students are integrated both into the Osgoode community through extracurricular activities and events, but also into the broader professional community through our downtown location, where students can find endless opportunities to broaden their professional network. Lastly, for support, students will have access to a full range of academic, career, and wellness. We have a one-on-one advisings and skill-based workshops. Students have access to subject matter experts who are passionate about supporting students' goals and helping them to identify new opportunities. So in terms of our offerings, we have a non-credit programs. These are the summer programs, Advanced Legal English program. For full-time graduate diploma, it is called Foundations of Canadian Law. And we have 4 full-time graduate degrees, or the LLM programs. These are International Business Law, Canadian Common Law, Taxation Law, and General Law. I'll go through each of them as we go through this presentation, starting with a summer program. This is designed for current JD LLB students or recent graduates. This is a time for you to be fully immersed in a summer program for 3 weeks, where you get to study law in Canada while also enjoying the vibrant summer of Toronto. Each year they have different topics, and those topics will be confirmed closer to the application opening deadline. And in terms of intensive advanced legal English, this is a program that we've partnered with our language institution to provide international trade lawyers or any legal professionals who are looking to advance their English legal communications, writing, reading, and listening. Completion of this program, I also want to mention, is that fulfills our language requirement for our credit program, like the LLM or the graduate diploma. It will be a 16 weeks program starting in the spring from early May to August. In addition to that, we have a IALE, which is Intensive Advanced Legal English graduate bursaries of $2,000, which can be put towards the tuition of your LLM or the graduate diploma if you decide to pursue those degree programs. So in terms of full-time credits, we have, want to highlight the graduate diploma in foundations Canadian common law, in Canadian law, I'm sorry, or the professional LLM. We have four specializations: Canadian common law, international business law, taxation, and general law. So before I introduce all of our degree credits or degree programs, I wanted to give you a bit of introduction to our program structures. Our courses are weighted at 3, 6, or 9 credits. We operate on a 3-term system of fall, winter, or summer. You'll notice that, as I mentioned, that the program may have a fall start or a winter start. And in terms of credit requirements, the graduate diploma will require you to complete 18 credits, while the LLM will require you to complete 36 credits. And just to highlight, because our professional LLMs are not the research LLM, there isn't a thesis requirement in our programs, but for all of the programs except Canadian Common Law, we'll have some research component involved in it. And I'll go a little bit about that as we go through the programs. Right, so in terms of graduate diploma in Foundations of Canadian Law, this is a good program for a number of people. It could be for recent graduates. If you're coming from a civil law jurisdiction, this will give you that foundations in public and private law concepts, and will then also strengthen your legal research and writing skills. The program only has one intake in the winter, and it runs for 8 months, starting from January until August of that same year. The courses or the program itself will have 12 credits of required courses, or equivalent to 4 required courses. This includes Canadian legal research and analysis, academic and applied legal writing, introduction to Canadian public law, as well as private law. There will also be elective to accumulate into the 18 credits total of degree requirements. So the 6 credits will give you about 1 to 2 courses of electives. Typically, these courses are drawn upon or from the professional LLM offerings. Based on your background or interests and goals, we can have student advisor work with you to select those courses that would fit of your interests. So the next one is the LLM in Canadian Common Law. This program is most popular with our internationally trained lawyers and law graduates who are looking to transition their career into the Canadian legal markets. They are looking for a program that is designed to fulfill the NCA requirements. This is a unique alternative to all NCA candidates who would like to study within a program instead of doing challenge exams to meet the NCA requirements. The program has 2 intakes in the fall term and in the winter term. It runs for 1 year or 12 months. And in terms of required courses, there's none of the required courses, but most students will start the program with admission condition course. This will be listed in your offer letters. And based on your background, you could be given all or some of these courses, such as Introduction to Canadian LLM Studies, Legal Research and Writing, Foundations of Canadian Law. The courses or the degree will provide you or require you with core and elective courses. You'll have to complete 18 of the 36 credits coming from Canadian Common Law courses, and the option to utilize the remainder 18 credits for another Canadian Common Law courses, or take courses from other specializations, or also the option to pursue an independent research paper. The next one is LLM and International Business Law. This will give you an in-depth Canadian and comparative law concept. If you're looking for that knowledge in private law, this will give you core courses that cover topics such as transactions, cross-border taxation, international arbitration, and international trade. The program, similarly with Canadian Common Law, has 2 intakes, fall and winter, runs for 1 year or 3 terms or 12 months. And there will be a required course called Comparative Legal Studies in International Business. Another required could be admission condition course, similarly to Canadian Common Law. It could be Introduction to Canadian LLM Studies or Legal Research and Writing. The program will have electives, so you will be able to utilize 18 credits towards international business law course electives, and the flexibility to utilize the remainder 12 credits from other specializations. There's also will be research requirement. So there'll be three options, which is conducting research within a course that you're already in, or the other two option is conducting independent research studies with a faculty member. And there's two different types based on the type of research and the length of that particular research paper. Will provide you with different or meeting with the different degree requirements. The next one is LLM and taxation law. This of more of a fit for those legal professionals who are looking to gain in-depth examinations into the policies, principles, and internal logic of the tax law in Canada and internationally. This program is taught by globally recognized tax scholars and practitioners. A different thing about start date with taxation law, it only has fall only intake. Instead of fall and winter like the other two programs I've mentioned. This program will also run for 1 year or 3 terms. There will be required courses called tax policy, introduction to taxation corporation shareholder, comparative taxation law. And there'll also be admission condition course based on your background, such as introduction to Canadian LLM study. The remainder of your degree requirements will be mostly put towards taxation law courses, but you'll also have the option to enroll in 6 credits of outside electives from other specializations. There will also be a research requirement from one of the 3 options for our students. And lastly, for our LLM, it will be LLM in general law. This is an option for senior legal practitioners who are looking to specialize in 2 or 3 different areas to build a program that is based on their interests and goals. The program itself will have 2 intakes, fall and winter. It also runs for 3 terms or 1 year. The offerings of this program is quite unique. They vary annually because the requirements are really depending on the chosen area of specialization. This program itself does not have an open application process. You do need to put in a request to be considered for application for this specialization in general law because of different interests or different specialization have different start dates. We want to ensure that you are the right fit for this program. And then secondly, that your chosen specializations you are enrolling in the correct term based on your chosen specialization and able to access the most number of courses at your particular intake. So that's why we do need to see that request first and approve that request to make sure that you are getting the right information and starting at the right time. So I just wanted to give a little bit of introduction or highlights into, for those of you who are interested to get licensed here in Canada, you have to go through the NCA, which is the National Committee on Accreditation. They are the regulatory body that oversee your academic and professional experience and will assess your eligibility to get qualified here in Canada, as well as give you a list of subjects to allow you to meet the licensing requirements. So all internationally trained lawyers coming into practice or looking to practice here in Canada will be required to complete the 6 mandatory subjects, no matter where you're coming from, whether you're coming from a common law jurisdiction or a civil law jurisdiction. All of you will be required to complete the Canadian administrative law, constitutional law, criminal law, professional responsibility, foundations of Canadian law, and legal research and writing. Based on that assessment, some of you may be required to complete core subjects, contract, torts, and property. This is assessed based on your whether or not you've completed these courses, as well as your grades in those courses. Some people will be required to complete additional subjects. This is based on what jurisdiction you're coming from, the format of study, and the length of study of your law school. So some people may have just 6 subjects to complete or 9 or more, it truly depending on your assessment. The NCA has a self-assessment tool that you can start with before putting forth a complete assessment to kind of give you an idea of what type of subjects you'll be required to do based on your educational background. Our advice is always to get an NCA assessment as soon as possible to get an idea of what those subjects will be, especially having those NCA assessment before the start of your program would be most crucial. As I mentioned in the beginning, we do have an on-demand video that talks about the NCA process, the accreditation, and the types of program that we have here in detail to allow you to meet those NCA requirements. So just to another highlight overview for those of you who are looking to complete our NCA subjects through our programs. The graduate diploma will give you about 1 to 2 subjects or the 6 credit outside electives to be put towards NCA. International business law will give you about 12 credits or 2 to 4 subjects. Taxation law is about 6 credits or 1 to 2 subjects. General law, if Canadian common law is one of your designated area, at max, you'll be able to utilize 18 credits or 2 to 5 subjects. And lastly, Canadian common law. So Canadian common law will give you the most number of credits to be put towards NCA. And essentially, you can utilize all of the 36 degree requirements towards NCA, and that gives you about 5 to 8 subjects. The other thing I want to mention is that you do have options to meet your additional subjects. The mandatory and course, you do have to complete those particular subjects, but for additional subjects, you may be able to request alternative to meet that requirement. So when choosing the right program for you, meeting the number of NCA subjects through the program is just one consideration. The other 3 categories you want to think about is that what are your goals and what are your timelines in terms of, do you want to get licensed here or do you not want to get licensed here in Canada? And the other thing is that what is your story, right? What is your background and what are you looking to pursue in the future? Are you looking to get accredited as soon as possible, or maybe pause that accreditation process and focus on certain area of specializations while you enter the legal market? And lastly is that what's going to bring you the most value out of the program that you are enrolling in, because it is a huge time and financial investment. We want to make sure that students are choosing the right program that truly meets their goals and aspirations. So for international students, we do have awards. We have entrance awards for international students applying to full-time LLM programs. You will be automatically considered for a 10,000 entrance award. There's no separate award application required. Just make sure that you are submitting your fall application by the January 15 deadline and winter application by the April 15 deadline. A complete applications means that your online application form is submitted by that submit deadline, and all the required documents, including unofficial transcripts and references, have been received by the completion deadline. Proof of language proficiency may also follow later. We'll be able to talk about it on one if you do have further inquiry. All right, so in terms of important dates to keep in mind, fall term application will be opening up very soon in October 1st. International students wanting to be considered for their entrance awards, make sure you submit your application by the January 15. Final deadline is May 1st, and for the fall term. And in terms of programs that is offered, that is the international business law, Canadian common law, taxation law, and general law. So that's essentially all the 4 LLM specializations I talked about. For winter term, that is starting in January, application will be open February 1st. The year prior, award deadline will be April 15. Final deadline will be September 15. Programs that are offered are international business law, Canadian common law, general law, and the graduate diploma. So keep in mind, if you are interested in taxation, it will not offer in winter term. The other thing I want to highlight is that spaces are limited. It's always best to apply early for 1, space. 2 is that to be considered for the awards. And lastly is that As international students, a visa permit process can take a very long time, so it's always best to apply early so you do have sufficient time to process that study permit prior to the start of the LLM. So I have a few slides left, and I just want to talk about the kind of documents and profile that we're looking for. The application process itself is quite straightforward. There's only a few documents that you need to submit within the application portal. We do need to see your updated CV or your resume. You want to highlight relevant professional experience, and typically the admission committees are looking for at least 2 years of law practice experience post JD LLB in order to be admitted into the LLM programs. We do need to see your writing sample, so the committee wanted to be able to evaluate your readiness to do graduate level legal research and writing. You're welcome to submit something you've written in the past, maybe just do a quick look through, making sure it's a true reflection of your current research and writing skills. The writing sample is typically about 5 to 10 pages in length. You should be the only author for that writing sample. Transcripts, we're looking for an overall B or 75% average in your law degree. The committee will also consider or put into consideration if you do have any other studies prior or post law school. And for those of you who have been practicing for quite some time, for at least 5, 10 or more years, the committee will put less emphasis on those transcripts and take a look at your professional experience to determine your readiness for graduate studies. For references, we need contact information for 2 referees. You want to select references either academic or professional who can best speak about your legal knowledge, legal experience, as well as your readiness to do graduate level study. Some of you may be required to submit a language proficiency. We do accept a number of language tests. For our application, please check our website for details. And let me just highlight the policy about language. We are, if you have completed at least 1 year full-time study where English is the only language of delivery in that institution, you've met that language requirement. If you have not met that language requirement, I mentioned we do accept numerous language tests to meet this requirement. All right, so when you're ready to apply, please make a note of the important dates. Keep note of the required documents and what we're looking for. Make sure that all documents are ready to submit at the time of applications. And lastly, if you are in certain regions looking to work with an agent, we do have agents who'll be able to assist international students from certain regions in their application process. So just to wrap up my presentation, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope it has been informative. And if you do have further questions, I'll stay longer for the Q&A, but if you thought of other questions later on in the future, there are ways for us to get in touch with you or for you to get in touch with us. Once again, we have that on-demand sessions on our website for all of our specializations, also the pathway to get licensed here. We do have drop-in advising every Wednesday morning and Friday morning Toronto time. And if you do want to just jot down our link here at osgoodepd.ca/LLM info, this will direct you to our contact form. This is a way for you to get in touch with us. The other thing I want to highlight is that in this form, you'll be able to submit your updated CV or resume. We're more than happy to take a look at your admissibility and fit into our program prior to submitting an application. This is a way for us to be able to help you to figure out what program is the right one for you and when is the right time for you to apply for a program depending on your backgrounds. So thank you all. So Garrett, that's my presentation. So I'll open up questions.
Thank you very much, Clarissa. I really appreciate that. And thank you for go breathless for 29 minutes. It's been a great session. Thank you. I would encourage, just before we go into the Q&A, any students that are interested to watch those on-demand drop-in sessions, and communicate directly with Claresta and the team, by emailing osgoodepd.ca/LLM info, because the more communication you have, the more questions you ask, the more comfortable you will feel as a student. So I would strongly urge anyone that's interested, whether they're watching now, whether you're watching in the future later on in 2025, to just ask questions and to find out more information. We're going to get through some of the questions now that have been asked. One of the most pressing questions, that I would potentially have to begin with is probably the comparison to studying in the USA. Now, obviously, you guys are in Canada, but obviously, you're actually closer to New York than a student would be in Miami. So, what are the main differences between studying an LLM in Canada than that of in the USA? Is it just purely really that the education is just a tiny bit different? Um, and therefore, what does that mean for your career prospects post-graduation?
I think that's a really good question because there's so many schools to be like, for students to consider. But I think first of all, or like there's actually a number of factors that I want to highlight. Like, we do have faculty members, I guess, first of all, within the institution, we have faculty members who are renowned in their area of specializations. They're coming in from Canada or abroad, who'll be able to share their knowledge with you. So when you are studying your LLM, you're not just learning Canadian context, you will be able to touch upon international context as well. And geographically, we are close to, the US. If your plan is to either return to the US in the future or work, there's lots of flexibility in that because Toronto is like one of the most popular, sort of like the New York of Canada. We have the financial district and we're very big on that, and lots of firms, lots of international firms. So there's flexibility of maybe starting working in Canada and later on transitioning in your firm with other offices. And the other thing is that I want to mention is that for academic and career supports, we have advisors who are lawyers themselves who will be able to guide you in terms of job applications, maybe mock interview, reviewing your CV, reviewing your cover letter. This is a way for you to be able to get that further advice or that further assistance in terms of be able to highlight or market yourself better, either within Canada or outside of Canada.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's obviously from a much more of an academic and from a career prospect angle. Um, but I've had the pleasure of I've gone to Toronto myself, and there are natural things as well. Like Niagara Falls is only 2 hours away, isn't it? A drive away, and you are actually on the lake that ultimately leads to Niagara Falls. And I think students do tend to forget that actually it can be a lot more relaxed, if that's fair to say. It's students come from all over the world and they come to Canada over USA probably for a reason. And one of those reasons might not just be because of career prospects and the education, it could just be because it's more relaxed. Now, Toronto is a very cosmopolitan place. What kind of student expect it to be like in class? Is it very multicultural because of that?
Yeah, I mean, Toronto itself is as I mentioned in the beginning, we are one of the most multicultural cities in the world. We have lots of different ethnicities, cultures, lots of different restaurants, or like, different languages spoken in the city. So, wherever you're coming from, like you'll be able to find your own community, be able to connect back to your roots. You won't be missing out on that. And it's and also, just from the city perspective, because of how multicultural we are, it's also reflected in our programs. We have students, once again, from all over the world to be studying here with us. Either they wanted to get licensed or they just wanted to internationalize that education. As well as not only you'll be able working with other internationally trained lawyers, you'll be able to work with Canadian lawyers, but also senior non-legal professionals here. who are seasoned in their area, and be able to provide different perspective from a lawyer's perspective. So the classes itself is very interactive. There will be lots of discussions within the with the instructors or other students, lots of networking opportunities for students to be able to participate either after class, in between classes, and also post graduation within. We have alumni network, alumni night for you to be able to connect with our alumni, different events. So lots of different opportunities for students. And I feel like there's just too
Yeah.
many, and which is great because there's so many options for you to choose from.
And are there, this is a much more overarching question,
Mhm.
are the visa requirements in Canada for a student similar to that of the USA, where you've got an F1 visa, you've got 60 days post the end of your graduation to find out what you want to do and what effectively are the next steps for you? Is that the same for Osgoode Toronto, wherever you might be in Canada? And likewise, how does the law school help with that afterwards?
Yeah, so in Canada, they have the PGWP program for students to stay in Canada and continue working after education. So that is one option for students, and especially students who have completed their LLM studies will be able to take a look at those eligibility in details again. And within York University, we are part of the within Osgoode Hall Law School, we are part of York University. They have international student office who'll be able to guide students if they need assistance on anything related to study permit, to visa. These are advisors who are very familiar in terms of immigrations and all those related concerns or issues. So you're going to be able to get an assistance as a student here with us. So not to worry about that.
Okay, one of the biggest rises in any kind of technology is AI and the use of certain platforms, not only when you're studying, but before studying and sending through your resume, personal statement, whatever it might be. How important would you say it is for students to ensure that when they're sending through their resume or statement, personal statement, it's relevant to them, they're applying, how important is it that they're true to themselves and they're using it to help them rather than take over and their application become a robot, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, that's interesting questions because of the rise of AI. It's always a concern, I think, at the university level of like how much it is being utilized with students. But I think within the legal market, we always highlight to our students that networking is the most important key for you to be able to kind of like land a job. AI is always good, for you to assist yourself in, maybe figuring out what field that you're interested in and kind of like what firms are specializing in that particular area. But in the end, you wanted to be able to network, create that human interactions, either, through LinkedIn at first and eventually meet them in person through networking nights. That's essentially a way for them to remember your application so that, maybe your goal is first to be able to get acquainted with the firm, whether it's a fit for you, but eventually your goal is to like land a job. But by building a relationship, that is the key aspect in being able to succeed in the legal market, especially in Canada. Networking, knowing who you know could be make it or break it for you, actually. So while I would say AI is a help for you to kind of maybe in the initial stage, but in the end, it's building that human relationship and connection is most important in order for you to succeed.
And going back to the academic side of things, obviously any students that are looking to apply at Osgoode um, will have specializations, whatever they're looking to enhance their studies in. Now, if a student decided like I like the look of criminal law, I'm going to study that, and then perhaps halfway through a semester, through a term. and they decide actually we want to go for, let's say, tax law or dispute resolution. Is that an option for a student? Are they able to kind of chop and change halfway through depending on what they see their interests going towards?
I think it really depending as well as a huge aspect in changing your specialization is that you want to take a look at the degree requirements. Degree requirements, first of all, from one specialization to another are very different. So if your interests have completely changed, you should be able to work with our student academic and career advisor to figure out, do you want to first completely change into a different specialization? If you are, what courses have you completed? What courses can be transferred, right? But if your interest now is changing, that you're only interested in very few courses, let's say you're coming from tax into international business law, you know, as I mentioned in the all of our programs, they are electives that you can take from other specializations. So that there is flexibility within the program that you are in to be able to explore other specializations and to still gain that expertise that's not just very narrow, but could be broad in it, right? So it's a possibility to change, but the best answer I can give you right now is for students to work with our student advisor to kind of plan ahead if a major change is coming up.
Sure. And I think the one word I want to take from that whole speech there was flexibility. Because there will be many students that will come and study with you, will live in the city, live on the outskirts, that will also have employment, will also have a job. How important is it to note that actually the type of student over the last 20 years has perhaps changed? There are more now mature students, different circumstances such as families and children and whatnot. How do you cater for those students? Is that something that if they are struggling or they're struggling to fit in, their family is struggling to fit in, that you can help with potentially, whether they're Canadian, US, or a further international student?
Mhm. I think like especially moving to a new countries is a huge change. And especially for students coming in with their families, we do have wellness advisors who'll be able to kind of work with students to possibly provide assistance in terms of that transition. It is a huge, you know, commitment in time and money as well as your the future of your family and in particular. So I think our wellness instructor will be able to either assist you in that transition or refer you to professionals that would be best help you in that. Um,
Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so I'm a student now. I'm interested. I'm watching. You're telling me to go to the website, look at the on-demand opportunities that are there to view further information. We saw earlier a slide on your intake dates, but if we can just go through that again,
Yeah.
and if a student does go on and apply, when can they expect to start, and how long does that process take? Because I've been a student before. I want everything by yesterday, and it doesn't work like that. How long can they expect that process from start of application to end of application, and even finding things like accommodation as well?
hmm so if you're looking to start in the fall term, so we'll be taking intake for fall 2026. So that's starting in August of 2026 next year. Application is opening in about a week or so from now. As international students, you want to be best, put yourself forward by to be considered for the entrance awards of $10,000. Make sure that you are applying by the January 15th deadline or before. No further application is needed. As international student, if you do miss that awards deadline, you can continue applying by the May 1st deadline. It's always best to apply early and once you submit a complete application, so that means all of your documents, and we have received your two references, really depending on your profile and file, we'll be able to give you an answer within a month from that completion date. But for some students who are more of a recent grad, the committee may want to wait a little bit until they receive more grades to be able to make that final assessment. So for that students, they might have to wait a little longer. But for majority of our students, most of them are already professionals, so they wouldn't have to wait for too long. It's about, once again, about 1 month since completion date. Once students have received an offer from us, there's a few kind of administrative tasks that they have to do, which is accepting the offer and also pay the enrollment deposit. This enrollment deposit of $5,000 will be put towards their first term tuition. Once we have received all those, that means you are committed to coming in and studying here with us. We'll be able then transition you into our students experience team, who are an expert in kind of getting you oriented, getting you into like the courses. So, and by then you also have access to our system, which is accessing to the career advising workshops, the online one, as well as like possibly in person if you're already here, if we have those in-person events. So you'll be able to have access to those quite early. So that means like applying early, get an offer early, have access early, could be as early as before you start the program, which is in fall of or August of 2026.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Excellent, thank you. Again, I can't put enough emphasis on the fact that please communicate. Any students that are interested, communication is key. The more you know, the more knowledge you have, the more you can manage your expectations and everyone else's expectations. Claresta, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I'm going to wrap things up there. Anyone watching has any questions, please email webinars@postgradsolutions.com. We'll make sure that your inquiry reaches Claresta and the team at Osgoode School, Osgoode School of Law. If anyone has any questions about the webinar itself, please reach out to us via our social media channels or reach out again to webinars@postgradsolutions.com. But for now, thank you very much. Claresta, thank you for your time. We look forward to seeing you again soon. And if anyone wants to apply, please let us know. We'll be happy to pass on your details. Thank you.